Okay, I have a good one for you guys today. I had the pleasure of interviewing David Namdar, the CEO of CEA Industries and the BNB network company, who's actually the first publicly traded company to deploy a BNB treasury strategy. We've seen this with Michael Saylor and Bitcoin, Tom Lee recently with Ethereum, and now we're seeing it again, the first publicly traded company here doing it with BNB. So, without further ado, guys, let's jump into this interview with David Namdar. Hope you guys enjoy. So, I'm here with David Namdar today, the CEO of the BNB network, and we're going to talk a little bit about their new strategy as they're deploying a BNB treasury strategy, and they're actually the first publicly traded company to do so. And we're going to just talk a little bit more about BNB in general, other treasury companies, the strategy as a whole, kind of why companies are adopting this. So, David Namdar, welcome to the show, the podcast, and let's talk a little bit more about your company and kind of your plans moving forward here. And by the way, thanks for coming on. By the way.
Oh, thank you for having me, Stas. It's a pleasure to be here. And hopefully one day we do this in person as well, because I'm
Yeah,
sure it'll be a great conversation then.
totally.
So listen, I'm super excited. I think what we're building here at CEA Industries and the BNB Network Company is really trying to be the most institutional grade and best approach at giving investors exposure to BNB here in a Nasdaq listed vehicle. I think it's one of the best crypto assets out there, and there's a really unique story that the market's been overlooking that I'm happy to get into a bit here. And I think recently, like this wave of corporate treasury strategies is something that has had me the most excited since I first got involved in the crypto space. I've been actively investing in it myself. I've been kind of talking to people, other investors, and really other crypto OGs who've been in the space a long time about it. And it's something that none of us really could have anticipated from early on. I
Right.
got my start over 12 years ago now in the crypto space, which, if you can imagine, is a pretty long time. And I left. I was in the hedge fund world. I left. I tried to do some of my first things in the crypto space were to help bring crypto and capital markets together. I set up a company called SolidX in 2014 with the idea to do a Bitcoin ETF and also to create the derivative side using total return swaps. Now, last year, probably the most important event that happened in crypto was the introduction of Bitcoin ETFs in the US. And so that's really kicked off a wave of investor activity and enthusiasm and kind of opened up a lot of people's minds to the space now that they had really like easy ways to access Bitcoin in the public markets. And then another key thing was it's now been 5 years since MicroStrategy, Michael Saylor
Yeah.
was the first one to kick off taking the cash that he had on his corporate balance sheet and converting it into Bitcoin. And he had fought with his investors, he fought with the markets. He's really taken a lot of hits for everybody along the way. But now what he's been able to achieve over the last 5 years, he's accumulated, I think it's 3% of the Bitcoin market today, over the outstanding Bitcoin. And his balance sheet of Bitcoin is over 70 billion, and the total market cap of the company is over 100 billion.
Yeah,
In his
that's
footsteps,
crazy.
this year, we've now seen, at least 50 new companies adopting a Bitcoin treasury strategy, and probably one or two dozen others that have looked at some of the other important assets and realized, Bitcoin makes a lot of sense, but actually getting exposure to a couple of these other ones also makes a lot of sense.
Right. So, yeah, it's crazy how Michael Saylor opened that door essentially a couple years ago. We saw it with Bitcoin. Now we're seeing it with Ethereum. A couple companies are doing it. Obviously a lot more with Bitcoin. And you guys are doing it with BNB, putting BNB on your treasury. Why BNB over something like a Bitcoin or an Ethereum? We're seeing some companies, one in particular, doing it with Solana. So why would you, go with BNB? And where do you and BNB, I mean, it's the top five crypto right now in terms of market cap. So it's not like a little crypto by any means. So Where do you see that moving forward, and why again BNB?
Sure. So I have a personal side to the story and then a kind of investor and opportunistic side to it. And so on the personal side, I felt like the BNB and Binance story has been following me for a lot of my crypto journey. After the largest company I've created so far in the space, I co-founded Galaxy Digital with Mike Novogratz back in 2017. That's now a $7 or $8 billion public company and one of the things I'm most known for in the space. And after I had left Galaxy, I had the opportunity to, I was offered the role as to be the CEO of Binance US. At the time, the regulatory environment wasn't quite as friendly as it is today. So it wasn't the right opportunity for me to just run a single company or work with a single project back then. And then just over a year ago, I was contacted by the team at BNB to see if I'd ever consider running the BNB Chain Foundation or leading a foundation in general. And again, I know quite a few people that are running foundations of other crypto assets, and it also didn't feel like the right thing for me particularly. My skill set isn't well suited to running a foundation as opposed to other things in the market. Now, because I'd been so active investing in and really helping a lot of the treasury companies get launched, when the opportunity came up to run a BNB focused digital asset treasury, it just was this perfect convergence of what I'm uniquely qualified at doing based on my experience in the space as an investor, as an entrepreneur, and what I'm interested in and can manage well. And so that's why, on a personal level, it made a lot of sense to get involved with a BNB one over a Bitcoin one or anything else. Now, in terms of the opportunity here, I've been coming up with a lot of different reasonings why, like as you picked up on BNB, it's really, I don't count Tether in the top five. So it really is the fourth largest
Yeah, true.
crypto asset today and ecosystem. And one of the metaphors I'd like to use is just imagine in the US if the largest companies in a vertical weren't available for US investors to get access to. Imagine if Apple and Google and Facebook were created overseas and they only traded on the Hong Kong stock market or the London stock market, right? Or in Japan. And
Hmm.
so, US investors, I mean, ideally there would be an ADR or a way for them to get access to those incredibly large, important companies. Well, in the crypto space, you could make the case that Binance is the largest and most important company in the entire space. That it has more users than any other exchange. It almost has 300 million users, and it has this unique asset that it also helped introduce back in 2017, BNB. And BNB is used, I've seen some of the numbers that over 90% of users of Binance actually utilize BNB in order to kind of have reduced trading fees and other activities within the Binance ecosystem. So in some regards, BNB is actually the most widely used cryptocurrency, although it's happening with off-chain activity through Binance Exchange. Now, other exchanges in the future could also utilize BNB as a trading fee related asset and also integrate it into their exchanges. Now, off-chain activity is also incredibly high. That BNB chain's built out this entire thriving like ecosystem where it has tens of millions of daily transactions. Like I said, a couple hundred million users. It has the largest or one of the largest DEXs in the entire space. And right now, there really is like very barely any way for US investors and mostly investors in the West to get access and exposure to BNB and to the entire ecosystem there.
Awesome. Yeah. So I
Mm.
was reading, you guys are essentially your goal is to hold 1% of BNB's total supply by year end. Could you talk about that a little more, or we can't get deeper into that?
Yeah, I think so. As I've been seeing with a lot of the treasury companies, one of the things that's incredible is actually what I said earlier was, look, when I first got involved in the crypto space, we were imagining a lot of the things that have played out through the crypto cycles. We imagined at the very beginning. We were thinking about, I put out a research report in 2014, Bitcoin and digital assets as an institutional asset class. And we talked about Bitcoin one day being bigger than gold, the entire market cap. And we're well on our way. I think Bitcoin already is one of the top 10 assets in the world by size.
Right. Yeah.
And it's, I can see the case for it surpassing gold at some point in the future is clearer than ever. Now, BNB, I think, is in the top 150 assets today in the world, right? Maybe top 200. And so I also envision a future where BNB makes its way into the top 10. And so, in that future, BNB will be a over $1 trillion asset. And so, we had set out this initial goal of targeting 1% of the supply. And I think that still is a reasonable goal that we stick with today. And we've been making some announcements as we purchase and get to a certain number of holdings. Now, we also, I've tried to make clear we're active and we're purchasing BNB every single day. Right. And so
Yeah.
we tend to put out more announcements about future purchases, and we'll come up with a cadence in the market that we give these updates. Now, what I'd say about other treasury companies is a lot of them have been able to, in a short period of time, if they've managed to be successful in telling the story and narrative, they've managed to be able to revise up their estimates. And so, I'd just like to say, like, I'm very optimistic about what we're going to be able to accomplish here.
I love to hear that. That's awesome. So definitely, I think yeah, BNB is overlooked. It's an underappreciated just overall in the top five, it's probably the most underappreciated, I would say. And in general, looking forward, I mean, BNB is your focus. Would there be any other assets you guys would look to acquire, or you're focusing solely, because I saw the $500 million private placement. So you're focusing solely on BNB now, but maybe down the line, kind of the 5-year plan for the company. Where do you see things going? Maybe beyond BNB or, elsewhere.
Sure. So now with this company, BNC, the ticker, we're
Right.
100% focused on BNB. And now
Yes.
BNC was actually the original ticker of BNB chain. So a lot of people who've been following the story from the beginning are very happy with the current stock ticker that we have. Now, what I'd say is, the same way that Michael Saylor has a singular focus on accumulating more Bitcoin, with BNC, our singular focus is on accumulating more BNB.
That makes sense.
Now, that being said, I've managed to, even in the short period since I've stepped into the CEO role, I've actually managed to BNB pill myself. And I have more conviction than ever today, and it continues to grow, that BNB is going to be an incredible asset to own and have exposure to. And actually, I think it's going to outperform Bitcoin on a 1 year, 3 year, 5 year view. And
So yeah,
so,
keep going.
yeah. So I'd say is, like along the lines of this digital gold narrative. So I still see Bitcoin as digital gold, and it's, a store of value that's growing and recognized by more and more people around the world. You hold on to it forever. Ethereum, people have looked at as more of a digital commodity, right? Something that fuels a lot of the economy.
Hmm.
Well, BNB is really that plus more. Like BNB is the entire digital infrastructure and equity of this entire like kind of ecosystem. And in some ways, this might be the chain of the future, a chain for AI and robotics and all of these different things. Every app, games, transactions that happen on BNB utilize BNB, right? That happen on BNB chain, they utilize BNB and it creates real demand for it. And then there's a burn mechanism that actually reduces the supply. So none of the other major crypto assets have the same kind of inherent burn mechanism in place and deflationary aspect. So it creates both like the utility, but also some scarcity value that grows more over time. And so to me, I think it's really like the story here is just being recognized, and it's also just getting started. Like as I said, I think since BNB was introduced now in the last 7, 8 years, it's one of the few assets, maybe the only one that's actually outperformed Bitcoin. And since we've started this company, it's managed to outperform Bitcoin as well. And I do think that that outperformance is going to continue over time.
Awesome. That's yeah, I could see that for sure. So let's say somebody's watching this video, and I'm sure there's a couple people, and they're like, I have no idea what BNB is. Could you give me like a 30-second, not the company, but the actual, the crypto. Could you give me a 30-second basic rundown on what BNB is? And you compare it to Bitcoin, kind of gave your thoughts on why it's more utility, kind of gonna outperform Bitcoin, but 30 seconds for people that have just no idea watching this, and they've seen your success in the space. What is BNB?
Sure. So what BNB is a token and crypto asset that was introduced by CZ and the founder of Binance and initially tied directly to Binance, the largest crypto exchange in the space. And so it was utilized, and it still continues to be, by the majority, almost all of the people that trade on the Binance exchange use BNB to get reduced trading fees for all their transactions. Now, a lot of people would say trading is still the killer app or the number one app of the entire crypto ecosystem. So because Binance is the largest exchange and BNB is the most used asset on there, inherently, it's one of the most widely used crypto assets today. Now, it also has a very, very well-developed and thriving ecosystem of apps, games, DeFi, DEXs, a number of different things, and growing. I went last week to an event at the New York Stock Exchange that was a demo day hosting all of these different projects that are building on top of BNB. And so it really is one of the most unique crypto assets that is this digital infrastructure and gives you exposure to kind of a really broad infrastructure of the entire crypto asset space.
Awesome. Thanks for that, David. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure again, a couple people watching had no idea. So, kind of to wrap things up here, I already asked you the 5-year plan for the company. Maybe just some closing remarks on CEA Industries, the treasury arm of the business, BNB Network Company, kind of what you guys are looking to do here. Obviously, acquire more BNB moving forward, but some closing remarks, the future of the company, to leave something with the viewers here.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think just one thing that's important, that I always try to give people perspective on crypto. Today, the entire crypto market is a $4 trillion asset or market cap. More money has been made in the last couple of years in the crypto space than in the first 10 years. Okay.
Yeah.
Similarly, I expect, as we continue to live through one of the largest shifts in wealth in history and through, inflationary periods, and, my expectation is that the Fed here in the US cuts interest rates soon, and we start to see a lot more money printing.
Mhm.
I think it's important to be zooming out and not get too caught up in short-term trading, but to really own the best assets with the best dynamics over time. To me, CEA Industries, and we're locked in and focused on BNB. And I think that, what we're building here is really going to have a chance to give exposure to one of the most unique assets that, the story is only going to get more and more known over time. And I think we're at a very exciting point here.
Awesome. Yeah, I agree. It's definitely exciting. It's an exciting time just in general, in the crypto market. And I think things are going to go well here. Personally, my thoughts in the crypto market over the next coming months. And I'm excited to see, how CEA Industries, how you guys continue to operate with BNB and just in general, how things go. So, David, thanks so much for coming on. And I'm looking forward to doing this again, and we'll talk more about the company, kind of how you guys are operating, what's going on. But yeah, thanks, David, and I'll see you in the next one.
Awesome. Thank you so much. This has been a great time.